What if I told you that 2,000 years ago, a group of men figured out the exact blueprint for inner peace, unbreakable discipline, and a life without regret? And what if the reason you feel anxious, overwhelmed, or stuck right now is because no one ever taught you what they discovered? Today that changes. Welcome to Wisdom of the Stoics. I'm going to walk you through 12 Stoic principles that, if you apply them starting today, will completely transform the way you think, feel, and live. Stay until the end, because Principle 12 is the one most people never hear, and it might be the most powerful of them all. Imagine a man who wakes up before sunrise every day, sits quietly, and spends time preparing his mind, not for the perfect day, but for the hardest one. He knows that before the sun sets, something will go wrong. Someone will disappoint him. Something he loves might be taken. His plans might crumble, and he is completely at peace with that. That man was Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful ruler in the ancient world. He commanded legions, governed millions, and faced constant war, plague, and betrayal. Yet every morning, he wrote in his private journal, and not about power or wealth, but about how to be a better human being. His philosophy, Stoicism. Founded in Athens around 300 BC by a merchant named Zeno of Citium, Stoicism spread across the ancient world and shaped the minds of emperors, generals, and slaves alike. And here's what makes it extraordinary. It wasn't academic philosophy meant to be read in ivory towers. It was practical, tactical, a survival manual for the human soul. The Stoics believed that you cannot control what happens to you, but you always control how you respond. And in that response, that's where your entire life is decided. All right, let's begin. Principle number 1, the dichotomy of control. Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. Epictetus. This is the single most important idea in all of Stoicism. And once you truly understand it, truly feel it in your bones, your anxiety will drop by half overnight. The Stoics divided all of human experience into 2 categories: things within your control and things outside your control. What's within your control? Your thoughts, your judgments, your intentions, your effort, your character. What's outside your control? Everything else. Other people's opinions, the weather, the economy, whether you get the promotion, whether your flight is delayed, whether people like you. Now here's where most people suffer. They spend enormous amounts of emotional energy trying to control things they cannot control. They lie awake at night worrying about what someone thinks of them. They spiral into anxiety about the future. They rehash the past with bitter regret. The Stoic response: let it go. Not because it doesn't matter, but because your suffering over it changes nothing, while your focus on what you can control changes everything. Epictetus, who was born a slave and became one of the most celebrated philosophers in history, taught this principle from the most brutal possible position. He had no freedom, no wealth, no power over his circumstances, and yet he was, by all accounts, one of the freest men who ever lived, because he understood. The only chains that truly bind a person are the ones inside their own mind. Today's practice: write down 3 things you've been worrying about. Then ask yourself, can I actually control this? If no, practice letting it pass like a cloud. If yes, take one action on it right now. Principle number 2, amor fati, love your fate. Don't seek for everything to happen as you wish it would, but rather wish that everything happens as it actually will. Then your life will flow well. Epictetus. This principle goes one step beyond acceptance. It doesn't just say tolerate what happens to you. It says love it. Amor fati, love of fate. This is perhaps the most radical idea in Stoicism, and also the most liberating. Think about the hardest thing that ever happened to you. A loss, a failure, a betrayal, a diagnosis, a broken relationship. Whatever it was, it broke something in you, didn't it? But now think, who did it make you? What did it force you to discover about yourself? What strength did it pull out of you that you didn't know you had? The Stoics weren't naive. They didn't pretend pain doesn't hurt. What they understood was this: resistance to pain multiplies it. Every second you spend wishing things were different, you add suffering on top of suffering. But when you look at every obstacle, every setback, every wound, and say, "This is exactly what was supposed to happen, and I will use it," something shifts. You stop being a victim of your life and start being its author. Friedrich Nietzsche, deeply influenced by the Stoics, said it perfectly: "That which does not kill me makes me stronger." Amor fati isn't passive resignation, it's ferocious embrace. Principle number 3, memento mori. Remember, you will die. Let us prepare our minds as if we had come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing. Let us balance life's books each day. Seneca. In ancient Rome, when a general returned victorious from battle, he would ride through the city in a triumphant procession. The crowds would roar. Flowers would rain down from balconies. And riding in the chariot with him, a slave, whose only job was to whisper in the general's ear, over and over, memento mori, remember that you will die. Not to be morbid, not to dampen the celebration, but to keep the general grounded, to remind him that glory is temporary, that arrogance kills faster than any enemy, that this moment is precious because it will end. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most of us live as if we have unlimited time. We delay the difficult conversation. We postpone the dream. We say someday to everything that matters, while we say yes to everything that doesn't. Memento mori strips away that illusion. It says, you are going to die. Maybe not today, maybe not for many years, but the clock is running. And the question is not how much time you have left. The question is whether you are truly living the time you have now. The Stoics didn't let the thought of death paralyze them. They let it clarify them. It burned away everything unimportant and left only what mattered. Principle number 4. The present moment is all you have. Confine yourself to the present. Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius wrote those 4 words in his private journal, a journal he never intended anyone to read, which means he wasn't performing philosophy. He was living it, reminding himself every single day the past is gone. The future isn't here. This moment, only this moment, is real. Modern science has caught up to what the Stoics knew intuitively. Studies show that the human mind spends nearly half its waking hours not in the present, wandering to the past or the future. And during those wandering moments, people consistently report lower happiness, higher anxiety, and less sense of meaning. The Stoic didn't need a study. They could feel it. They knew that the man who obsesses over yesterday's mistakes is not learning from them. He's punishing himself. And the man who spends today terrified of tomorrow never actually lives either day. The present moment is where power lives. It's where every decision is made, every action is taken, every relationship is nurtured. Your entire life happens here, in the now. And yet most people spend most of their time anywhere but here. Start small. For the next hour after you finish this video, every time your mind drifts to worry or regret, gently bring it back. Not with frustration, with curiosity, like a river returning to its banks after a storm. Principle number 5, negative visualization. Prepare for the worst. He robs present ills of their power who has perceived their coming beforehand. Seneca. This one sounds counterintuitive, even dark, but stay with me, because this practice, done correctly, might be the single greatest tool for daily happiness that exists. The Stoics practiced what they called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. In plain language, regularly imagining bad things happening before they do. Now, before you click away, this is not about anxiety. This is about inoculation. Here's the difference. Anxiety imagines bad outcomes and spirals into helplessness. Negative visualization imagines bad outcomes, prepares a rational response, and then returns to the present with deep gratitude for what you still have. Think about something you love, your family, your health, your home, your freedom. Now, gently, not obsessively, imagine life without it. Imagine waking up tomorrow and it's gone. Feel that? That ache you just felt? That's gratitude. Raw, unfiltered gratitude for what you have right now that you walk past every single day without noticing. The Stoics used this practice to ensure that nothing they valued ever became invisible to them. And when loss actually came, as it always does, they weren't blindsided. They had already made peace with impermanence. Principle number 6. Virtue is the only true good. Wealth is not among the number of good things. Virtue is the only true good. Zeno of Citium. This is one of the most challenging Stoic ideas for modern people, because we live in a world that tells us the opposite every single day. Our culture says success is good. Money is good. Status, fame, beauty, power, these are the goods. Get them and you'll be happy. The Stoics had a different word for these things. They called them preferred indifference, meaning, yes, it's better to be healthy than sick. Yes, it's better to be financially secure than broke. But none of these things, not one, is actually the source of the good life. You've seen it yourself, haven't you? People who have everything, the money, the status, the beauty, and they are absolutely miserable. And you've probably also known someone who had almost nothing by the world's standards. And yet they had this quality, this groundedness, this warmth, this quiet dignity that made them magnetic. The Stoics would say that person had virtue. And in their system, virtue is the only thing that can never be taken from you. It doesn't depend on the market. It doesn't depend on luck. It doesn't depend on what other people do. The 4 Stoic virtues, wisdom, justice, courage, temperance, develop these, and you have everything. Lack them and nothing else will fill the void. Principle number 7. The view from above, gaining cosmic perspective. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius had a meditation he returned to again and again. He called it the view from above. When he was overwhelmed, when the pressures of governing an empire felt crushing, he would mentally zoom out. He would imagine himself looking down at Rome from above, then from higher and higher, until the whole world was a pale blue dot in the vastness of space. And then he would ask, how significant is this problem in the grand sweep of time and space? Now, I'm not telling you that your problems don't matter. They do. But most of the things we agonize over? The awkward thing you said at dinner last week, the argument you had about something trivial, the opinion of someone who won't remember you in 10 years? The view from above dissolves the noise and leaves only what is truly significant. Try it now. Whatever is stressing you today, zoom out. Your neighborhood, your country, the planet, the galaxy, the universe, which is 93 billion light years across and has existed for 13.8 billion years. You are alive on a tiny rock for a brief flicker of cosmic time. And yet here you are. You have the extraordinary gift of consciousness, the capacity to love, to create, to choose. That is worth something. And most of your problems, in the view from above, they dissolve. Principle number 8. Act in accordance with nature. Man is a social animal. He who lives for himself is either a beast or a god. Aristotle, a close parallel to the Stoic view. The Stoics believed that human beings have a nature, a logos, a rational, social virtuous core, and when we live in alignment with that nature, life flows. When we violate it, we suffer. What does living according to nature mean in practice? The Stoics had a surprisingly clear answer. It means using your rational mind, not your impulses, not your fear, not your ego, to guide your choices. It means recognizing that you are part of a larger human community and that your actions ripple outward. It means living consistently, not preaching virtue and practicing vice behind closed doors. Think about the moments in your life when you felt most at peace, most alive, most yourself. I'd wager they were moments when you were being honest, when you were helping someone, when you were doing hard, meaningful work without complaint, when you were being who you actually are, not a performance for an audience. Principle number 9. The obstacle is the way. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Marcus Aurelius. This might be the most practically useful idea in all of Stoic philosophy, and it's one that turns the entire conventional approach to problems completely upside down. Most people view obstacles as reasons to stop. The application was rejected. The relationship failed. The business didn't work. The door is closed. The Stoic mind does something different. It looks at the obstacle and asks, what is this obstacle teaching me? How can I use this? What does this obstacle itself show me about the way forward? Thomas Edison failed 10,000 times before inventing the light bulb. Winston Churchill lost every major political race before his finest hour. Oprah Winfrey was fired from her first television job and told she was unfit for TV. In every case, the obstacle wasn't a detour from the path. The obstacle was the path. The failure forged the person who could succeed. What's in your way right now? Really think about it. And then ask the Stoic question, what if this isn't in my way? What if this is the way? Principle number 10. Sympathia. We are all connected. What injures the hive injures the bee. Marcus Aurelius. Here's something many people get wrong about Stoicism. They think it's cold. They think it's about becoming an emotionless robot who doesn't care about others. Nothing could be further from the truth. The Stoics believed deeply in what they called sympathia, the interconnectedness of all things. The idea that we are not isolated individuals fighting against the world, but nodes in a vast web of relationship, responsibility, and mutual obligation. Marcus Aurelius, despite being the most powerful man in the world, wrote repeatedly about his duty to others, to his subjects, to his family, to strangers. He understood that his own flourishing was inseparable from the flourishing of those around him. In a world that increasingly tells us to optimize for ourselves, to be the main character of our own story and treat everyone else as supporting cast, the Stoic vision of sympathia is radical. It says your neighbor's suffering diminishes you. The stranger who struggles on the other side of the world is not separate from you. To build a genuinely good life is to build it in community, in service, in relationship. The most fulfilled people you know, I'd be willing to bet they are not the most isolated. They are the most connected, the most generous, the most genuinely invested in the lives of others. Principle number 11. Voluntary discomfort. Choosing the hard path. Set aside a certain number of days, during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself, is this the condition that I feared? Seneca. Seneca, one of the wealthiest men in Rome, regularly slept on a hard floor, fasted, wore rough clothing, and walked in the winter cold, not because he had to, but because he chose to. He wanted to prove something to himself, to test whether his sense of well-being depended on comfort, to discover whether he could endure hardship with grace. And each time he came through, he felt freer, not less comfortable, but less dependent on comfort. This is one of the most counterintuitive and most powerful practices a modern person can adopt. We live in the most comfortable era in human history. We have temperature-controlled everything, instant entertainment, on-demand food, near zero friction in almost every area of life. And we have never been more anxious, more fragile, or more unable to handle adversity. The Stoics understood that comfort, pursued endlessly, becomes a prison, that a person who cannot function without air conditioning, without their phone, without their morning coffee, that person is not free. They are owned by their comforts. Voluntary discomfort breaks that ownership. It says, I choose to be uncomfortable. I choose the cold shower. I choose the hard conversation. I choose the difficult training. Not because I enjoy suffering, but because I refuse to be afraid of it. Start small. Tonight, skip one indulgence you'd normally reach for. Tomorrow morning, take 30 seconds of cold water at the end of your shower. These small acts of chosen discomfort build a muscle, and that muscle, over time, becomes invincible. Principle number 12. Eudaimonia, the flourishing life. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Marcus Aurelius. We've arrived. Principle 12. And I saved this one for last, because it isn't really a technique. It isn't a practice you do on Tuesdays. It's the destination that all the other principles are pointing toward. The ancient Greeks had a word, eudaimonia. It's often translated as happiness, but that translation is misleading. Happiness suggests a feeling, a mood, something that comes and goes. Eudaimonia means something far deeper. It means flourishing, the full realization of your potential as a human being. A life well lived, not by the world's standard, but by the standard of your own best self. And here is the Stoic secret to eudaimonia, the thing that separates it from every other philosophy of happiness in history. It doesn't depend on what happens to you. Let me say that again because it's worth sitting with. A flourishing life, in the Stoic view, is available to you right now, regardless of your circumstances, your bank account, your relationship status, your health, your past, or your future. Because eudaimonia is not built from external conditions. It is built from internal choices, specifically from the consistent choice to live with wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance, to use your mind rightly, to treat others well, to face what comes with grace, to act always according to your deepest values. Marcus Aurelius faced plague, war, betrayal, and the deaths of his children. Epictetus was born into slavery. Seneca faced execution. And all three, by every account, lived with a depth of peace and purposefulness that most people, even those with every advantage, never find. Their secret wasn't luck. It wasn't talent. It wasn't circumstances. It was philosophy. The daily, consistent, deliberate practice of choosing who they would be, regardless of what the world threw at them. You have within you right now everything you need to deal with whatever the world can throw at you. Brian Tracy, echoing the Stoic tradition. The Stoics would agree, and they'd add, you don't just have what you need. You have the capacity for something extraordinary. A life so grounded, so purposeful, so free from fear and petty suffering that people around you wonder what your secret is. Now you know. It's 2,000 years old, and it works. Let's bring it home. 12 principles, 2,000 years of wisdom, and one simple truth running through all of it. You are not a passive passenger in your life. You are the driver, and the wheel has always been in your hands. The Stoics didn't promise you a life without pain. They promised you something better, a life in which pain no longer has power over you, a life in which you meet each day with clarity, purpose, and unshakable inner calm. That's not a fantasy, that's a practice. And it starts the moment you decide it does. Quick recap, your 12 principles. 1. Focus only on what you control. Release the rest. 2. Love your fate, including its hardships. 4. Remember you will die. Let it make you fully alive. 4. Live in the present moment. Power only exists here. 5. Visualize loss to amplify gratitude. 6. Virtue is the only lasting good. 7. Gain perspective. Zoom out from your problems. 8. Live in alignment with your true nature. 9. The obstacle is the way forward. 10. You are deeply connected to others. Act like it. 11. Choose discomfort before it is chosen for you. 12. Eudaimonia, the flourishing life, is built from the inside out. The Stoics are gone, but their words, their journals, their letters, their lectures survived. Not because they were famous, but because they were true. And now those words are in your hands. What you do with them, that's up to you. That's always been up to you. And if you're new here, welcome. We go deep on Stoicism, ancient wisdom, and the philosophy of a well-lived life. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because every week we publish content designed to make you sharper, calmer, and stronger. There's a playlist linked right here of our most powerful Stoic videos. Start there. Your future self will thank you. Until next time, stay grounded, stay purposeful, and remember,